All right, I'm going to get started here. Just before we get started, the information and insights in this presentation are provided for informational purposes only and do not constitute financial, legal, tax, business, or personal advice from National Business Capital and Services and the presenter, which is myself, Joe Camberato. Do not rely on this information as advice, and please consult with your financial advisor, accountant, and/or attorney before making any decisions. If you rely solely on this information, it's at your own risk. The information is true and accurate to the best of our knowledge, but there may be errors, omissions, or mistakes. And also, please just bear with us. This information is changing constantly, so we're trying to be as accurate as possible. It looks like the information changing is starting to slow down. You may see one or two more updates, and that's why I wanted to throw that out there. All right, so let me just get up the presentation. All right, so these are all the updated facts as of today. There was some additional changes this week, and you know, in this webinar today, a few things. So we're going to talk about how to calculate your loan amount accurately, the time periods that you can use to calculate your payroll and your loan amount, and if you're a seasonal business, how you can go about doing that. The 1099 question that's been coming up constantly. We're going to talk about loan forgiveness and what that looks like right now. You know, banks and lenders have started funding these, which is great. They started about yesterday, within the last 24 to 36 hours. So there is bank movement. They're starting to fund. To be honest, the banks have not been, they're not prepared for this, set up for this, and neither is the SBA. So that's why things have been moving slowly. You know, on top of that, there were some things that were unclear that needed to get answered, which were. So why this got held up last week is the banks weren't able to sell these transactions and loans on the secondary market. It looks like they figured that out with the federal government. The federal government's going to help and buy back some of these loans. So the banks have enough money to fund it all. And then there was a few questions around the closing procedures, which looks like they addressed the day before yesterday and even a little bit further today. So the system was getting really bogged down, the SBA system. So it looks like they're solving that. They're going to be using some, actually bringing in Amazon web servers, which is amazing, and helping to speed and move this along. So you're going to see, like, next week and the following week, this really pick up really quickly. I'm going to answer all your questions. I'm going to try and get to as many questions as possible today. So please bear with me. And I'm going to, you know, talk about all the questions that you're probably thinking about, and how to go about and do this. And then at the end of this, I'll show you and let you know where you can go apply. Patrick's going to be assisting me here, Pat Manning from our company. Thank you, Pat. And he'll be dropping in the chat the links of where you can go apply through us. We are processing these transactions and helping business owners obtain this PPP loan that's available. Also, if you have questions, please make sure you drop those questions in the Q&A. Please make sure that you drop those questions in the Q&A, and for anything else, you can throw it in the chat. We're trying to keep it organized, and we're going to try and get to all of your questions. I'm also going to be answering questions live with people, so I'll give you the opportunity to come on and ask a question to me live. If you'd like to do that, please just raise your hand. All right. So my name is Joe Camberato. I'm the president and co-founder of National Business Capital and Services, a part of the Forbes Finance Council. I'm also part of the Young Presidents Club, or YPO. Some of my fellow YPOers might be on this, so hello to you guys. And some of the local people from the EO Long Island chapter may be on this as well, too. I hope you guys are doing well. And first off, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Good Friday if you celebrate, and a happy Easter, and a happy Passover. And I know this is a crazy time, and you know, much respect to everyone out there, all the business owners that are fighting through this. We're all fighting through this together. And I hope that you try and have at least somewhat of a good weekend or night tonight with your families. So just a quick background about National Business Capital and Services. We were founded, we founded the company back in 2007 with one mission: to help business owners grow by obtaining financing and much needed services. Since we've got started, we've helped business owners all across the country in all different industries, in all different shapes and sizes, obtain over $1 billion in funding, and that number is growing every day. We have thousands of clients all across the country. We have 75 lenders on our platform, and we also offer a number of different business services that help streamline your operation, and we also look to reduce expenses in your business, which a lot of our customers are taking advantage of right now. And we were top workplace, #1 top workplace on Long Island last year. We have an amazing team, and shout out to my team. We have a rock star culture. The team's been working remote. We've been going on 4 weeks now of working remote, just like a lot of you guys have. And we are processing applications. We're getting information up to date by the hour. We're doing huddles daily, Zoom webinars, hopping in, sharing information, updating the team, doing trainings on this product as it's rolling out. The team has been really instrumental in making this happen to serve you guys, small business owners, to make this happen. So I just wanted to shout out my team and thank you guys. I know some of you guys are on, and appreciate what everyone's doing right now. So thank you. So in normal times, we offer businesses lines of credit, SBA loans, small business loans. We also have our trademark product, the Hybrid SBA loan, where you get working capital while you wait for your hybrid. We are still getting some of those other products across the finish line. So if you're still doing our revenue right now, and you can prove it, we may be able to get you another product while you wait for the PPP loan. So that's something you could talk about one of our financing advisors with. There was someone in the chat that mentioned they were ServPro, and they're probably, they're still working because they're essential. We might be able to help you with some other working capital in the meantime to keep things moving. So you can speak with one of our team members there. We offer a number of business services. These are just some examples here. With credit card processing, we have an outsourced bookkeeping service. If you're looking over your numbers right now, for a few $100 a month, you can have your own dedicated outsourced bookkeeper and not have to have a full-time salary. And now with the ability to do read-only, view-only online bank access, really you can have an outsourced bookkeeper. It's a really great tool and something that you should consider. You can reduce a lot of costs there. We also offer payroll, HR services, and marketing services. And right now we're helping people save money in all those areas. We've been helping people save thousands of dollars monthly right now. So everyone should be looking over your expenses right now. It's something you should always do in business, but of course, more importantly right now. We're happy to help you do that. And we'll review all of those services for you for free and put together expense savings report. All right, so let's on to the Paycheck Protection Plan and Program. If you didn't know, there's basically $350 billion available for small businesses. The deadline to apply is June 30th. They've talked about maybe issuing another $250 billion, but it's first come, first served basis. Don't wait. Don't rely that that's actually going to happen. And make sure that you get your application in immediately. You can do that through us at national.biz/PPP. And you can get that process started with us. We're here to help. Someone asked in the chat, I think earlier, you don't have to be an existing customer of ours. Some banks are requiring that you have to be an existing customer. You don't. Some banks are self-serving their customers based on credit lines and loans that they have out with them already. We're just helping everybody. So we don't have any requirements. We've already had pre-existing non-bank SBA lenders on our platform, and we're processing these applications through them, just like we do all of our other loan products. We have over 75 lenders on that platform, and basically what we've done is National has had a streamlined, digitalized process for some time now, and in normal times, we just help move applications and get business owners across the country financing in record time. We make it real simple, real easy. Our technology is great, but what separates us from a lot of the other competitors out there, because there's a lot of tech-savvy business loan providers now. At National, we have some really great, knowledgeable people. We have an amazing culture, and everyone's passionate about helping business owners grow through financing and reducing their expenses. And our folks at National not only understand the product guidelines from all the lenders, and right now with this PPP loan product, but they also get and understand business because we do ongoing and never-ending training about that at the company. So when you speak with someone at my company, they'll be knowledgeable, they'll be able to answer your questions, you'll actually be able to get somebody on the phone, and that's the difference of working with us during this time and any other time. And as we get back to normal, we'll also be here to help you with those other additional financing products as well too. So all businesses under 500 employees qualify, including nonprofits, sole props, and independent contractors. There are some technicalities if you're over 500 employees, depending on your industry, the amount of gross sales. Also, if you have over 500 employees, which we've been speaking to some of those, if you've got multiple locations and you're not maxing out at 500 employees in each location, we can help you. So if it's a case-by-case situation, reach out to us. We'll look into it and see if your business qualifies if you're over 500 employees. All loan terms will be the same no matter where you go. So whether you apply through us or through a bank, it doesn't matter. The rates, the terms, everything's the same. What you need to apply is the same. There's no fees through applying through us or anywhere else, and no one is allowed to charge you any fees. So if anyone's looking to do that, they're not a legitimate company and they're breaking the SBA guidelines. And messing around with the government is not something that we should do or anyone else should. So no one can charge you any fees, period. And the difference with applying with us is it's streamlined, a knowledgeable expert. You can speak with someone, you can get somebody on the phone, and the SBA lenders on our platform are set up to handle heavy volumes in regular times, and the banks just really aren't. So it's not recommended. You should not be applying for more than one PPP loan at a time in multiple places. It's probably only going to slow you down and confuse the process. The loan guidelines are pretty simple. So the loan cap is $10 million. There was talks about a minimum loan amount, and that was at $25K, but it looks like they haven't put a loan minimum on this. So as long as you qualify, as long as you have a payroll of at least 100 grand per year, even if you're a single owner, we can work with you and help you. So there's not a loan minimum at this time. That could change. The interest rate is only 1%. And it's over a 2-year term. And forgive me, I'm going to move through this webinar quickly because I respect your time and I want to get to everyone's questions. So that's why I'm moving fast. No payments for 6 months. So once you get funded, there's no payments. The payments are deferred out for 6 months. Interest accrues during that time. That's an amazing thing. There's no personal guarantee or collateral. There's no prepayment penalties. You can pay this off at any time and only pay the interest up until then. And there's no FICO score, no credit score, there's no cash flow requirements, there's no financials that are needed, which is amazing. So how to calculate your loan amount. I'm going to go through this, and there's a few things that changed with this that I want to point out. And I know you're putting questions in there. Don't worry, we're going to get to those questions. So you calculate your loan amount by taking your average monthly payroll for all of 2019, or you can use the last 12 months. If you're a seasonal business, I'm going to get into that, so just hang tight. So you'll take your average monthly payroll, and you'll multiply that by 2.5, and that will equal your loan amount. So if you are doing roughly 100, I'm just using even numbers here, if you're doing $100,000 a month in payroll, you will multiply that by 2.5, which equals $250,000, and that would be your loan amount. So it's your gross payroll amount. This has been coming up. Is it the net? Do I take out taxes? It's your total gross payroll amount that you're paying to an employee. You can include tips, wages, commissions, everything. So you, it's the gross payroll amount. You can add on top of that. It caps at $100,000. So if you have an employee that's doing $150,000 in a salary, it caps at $100,000. You can still go above that $100,000. And basically, if you are anything that you're contributing towards any type of benefits, health benefits, and your state unemployment tax, you can add that on top of the $100K. So if benefits and state unemployment tax for that employee winds up being $5,000, you can use $105,000 in your calculation. So I hope that's helpful because that's come up a lot. You cannot use, if you're paying people out in 1099s, you cannot use those 1099s. So this is not meant, they removed that 1099 ability. If you are an independent contractor and you get paid a 1099, or if you're self-employed or sole prop, and you get paid a 1099, or you have a corporation, or if you have a corporation where you paid yourself whatever salary amount, you can use that. If you're just a single owner entity or sole prop or independent contractor, whatever amount you paid yourself or got paid, you can use that amount in your equation, and it caps at $100,000. So if you paid yourself $150,000, the max you can use is $100,000 plus your unemployment expenses, and that's really it because you're independent. So if it is $100,000, you would divide that by 12, which is $8,333, and you'd multiply that by 2.5. So I hope that clears up the 1099 thing. Does anybody have any questions around that? As far as I know, you cannot include workers' comp insurance. I just saw that question come through.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
There was a question that's come up a few times. If you can get into talking about K-1 distributions.
Yep. So so basically, if you're a single owner, and as long as you can prove out your distributions to yourself, so if you don't have payroll statements, then we're going to need your bank statements of 12 months to prove out those distributions and that amount, or a K-1, or if there's a 1099 or whatever it might be, whatever those supporting documentations that prove how you paid yourself, we're going to need that. And you can use that in your calculations, what we're being told. But it would cap out at that $100,000 mark. So I hope that answers your question. And Pat, thanks for jumping in. Yeah, so last year, if you used the 1099, you can use that. And you don't, so right now you only need to provide 2019 documentation. So whatever you did for 2019, if you brought a bunch of people on and your payroll increased, it's on the next slide here. So it's the calendar year of 2019 is the documentation that they want right now, and you can use that. So basically, if you're paying payroll, it'd be your 940s and your 941 statements. If you use a PEO company, you can use your payroll summary report, and at this point, the PEOs know exactly what they need to get to you. But if you've this year, if you've had a huge increase in payroll up until February 15th, you can use the last 12 months from there to maximize your payroll expense. So I hope that's clear and makes sense. So it's the previous 12 months from February 15th going back 12 months, or all of 2019. So I hope that makes sense. So for a sole prop, you just need to show your 1099 or the amount that you claim, whether it's a Schedule C or whatever. If you're a sole prop, whatever it is that can prove your salary for last year, you can use that amount if you're a sole prop. I hope that helps. If you pay yourself a small W-2 salary and then distributions, you're going to have to get that information. You're going to have to get that supporting documentation and prove out what you paid yourself for 2019. And I'm sorry, if you're seasonal, you can use the average monthly payroll for the periods of February 15th of 2019 to March 1st, or you can use March 1st to June 30th of 2019, so those 3 months, and take that average. If you were not in business from February 15th of 2019 to June 30th of 2019, you can use your average payroll from January 1st of 2020 through February 29th of 2020. So if you're seasonal, you can basically use January and February of this year, or you can use your average payroll from February to March of last year, or March through June of last year. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, and then another question is, yes, if any expenses, if you have an actual 1099, you can use that 1099. But if you don't have a 1099, then you need to get your revenue less your expenses, which would equal your net money that you paid yourself, and you'd be able to use that calculation. So loan forgiveness. So loan forgiveness is something I want to point out here is, it's basically once you get funded It's the 8 weeks going forward, which is the same. That hasn't changed. You can use your payroll. Now, if you've laid some people off and you can bring them back on, and then the 8 weeks going forward, once you've got funded, you can use in that calculation. If you've reduced anyone's salary that's under $100,000, if you reduce their salary by more than 25%, then that's going to hurt against you in that loan forgiveness. The loan forgiveness is somewhat clear right now, but there's still a few things that need to be finalized, and you're going to have to take all this information and go bring it back to the lender in order to get that loan forgiveness. But a lot of people have been asking me about this, and you can use your mortgage interest. It's probably only going to be 25% of the mortgage interest the 8 weeks after you get funded, your rent, and also your utility costs the 8 weeks after what you've paid after you get funding. So a lot of people have said, well, can I push out the funding, or what can I do about this? And the reality is so once the SBA makes an approval, they have 10 days to get you funded. And I believe that might have been changed till 5 days. So they have to fund you. While the money's available, you have access to the funding. You don't have to take it, but it probably makes sense to take it. And I believe that the capital, the money, is more important in your business account. This money's available. It's 1%. It's over 2 years. It's not expensive. So I understand wanting to maximize the loan forgiveness. But the reality is it's available. It's first come, first served basis. And I think it's more important in your bank account than trying to time this, plan it out, and do it all around loan forgiveness. So get that money in your bank account, secure it for your business. And if you're able to, right now it's a tough thing because you're getting the money and there's loan forgiveness, which is around payroll, but we're not back to business and work yet. So it's this weird balancing act right now. And it's kind of like a catch-22. Because if you've kept people on and you get the money, but you can't go to business, it's a little confusing and it is very frustrating, and I understand it. But I think at 1% over a 2-year period, that capital is more important in your bank account. And whenever we wind up getting back to business, I hope that's May 1st. It might not be till June 1st. So you kind of got to make those necessary adjustments. And there's some businesses that even if they want to go back to work now, they can, like certain restaurants and many other industries. So the loan forgiveness it's a good thing, but it's a frustrating thing because we're not technically able to get back to work now. But I wouldn't get hung up on that. I would get that money in your bank account because there's going to be a time when we get back to work and you're going to need the money to get started. So I think that's important. I hope you find that helpful. So, you will owe money when this is due if it's not forgiven. And you will have to supply that documentation when you go back to the lender to show proof of where you made those payments to. So keep track of your receipts, your checks, and all of those payments from payroll to rent to utilities to your mortgage interest. And you have till June 30th of 2020 to rehire and bring your employees back. Obviously, if you get the funding now and you don't rehire to June 30th, it's only 8 weeks after you get funding.
Hey, Joe?
Yes.
There's been a few questions that came in a row asking if they have to wait 8 weeks to spend the money on payroll. And I think there might just be some confusion there if you just want to clear that up.
No. So basically, when you get funded, whatever you've paid in payroll, the 8 weeks after the date of funding. So let's just say you got funded today. The 8 weeks from this point going forward, whatever you've paid in payroll, rent, utilities, so phone bill, internet, electric cable, all that stuff, everything in the 8 weeks going forward is what you can use in your loan calculation, in loan forgiveness. So, something I want to throw out there, and there's not real clarity around this, but, if you're trying to maximize loan forgiveness and you've got funded and you want to pay out some rent and utilities, there's nothing technically saying that you can't do that. So if you're not going back to work right now and you're not getting that payroll benefit because you're not really get your business back up and running until that's clear when we can go back to business, there's nothing saying it's saying the amount of money that you spend in your rent and your utilities and mortgage interest that you've paid the 8 weeks going forward. So there's nothing technically saying that you can't maybe pay your rent through July. If if you're certain that you're getting back to business and you're going to be there, that rent's going to be due. So if you want to maximize that loan forgiveness, that might be a way that you can maximize it. And there's nothing out there saying that you technically can't do that. So that should be something you consider look into. And that might be a little bit of a way to get a little bit more of loan forgiveness, maybe prepay out some rent, some utilities, and some bills. You can only get 25%, it looks like right now, for that loan forgiveness, but that might be something that you could do. So just an idea. So what will you need to apply? So basically, it's this new SBA Paycheck Protection application. We've already put that into DocuSign for you and put it into our already prior built-out systems. So we've uploaded that for you guys. Basically, you'll go to national.biz/PPP. You can get the process started right there. You can fill out that digital application right there. Our system's not jamming up. We're not having any issues. It's not slow. And then you'll need your records for 2019. So your payroll records, if you your 940 and 941s for 2019, or if you use a PEO, it is your payroll summary statements. And again, if you're an independent contractor or a sole prop, then you're gonna need that 1099 from 2019, or you're gonna need any other supporting documentation, K1, if it's distributions, then you need 12 months of those bank statements to show those and prove out those distributions. So any documentation, if you're a single owner person, that's gonna support what you got paid, and then your 940s, if you're a corporation with employees, you need those payroll tax filings for 2019. If you hire a lot of people in January and February, then you can use from February 15th going back those last 12 months to maximize that payroll number. You also need a driver's license and voided check. So basically, when you go to the website, national.biz/PPP, you can fill out the app right there and answer all the questions that we're going to need and sign the app right there. And then at the end, you're going to be able to upload those documents. So make sure that you have those documents handy. Go get them, go organize them, put them together, apply right on the website, and at the end, you upload your documents. And then what's going to happen is one of our business financing advisors is going to reach out to you, and they're going to go over, answer any of your questions, confirm that we received it. You'll get an email confirmation confirming that we received it, everything's been submitted into our SBA lending partners. So a few things I want to answer here, and then we're going to hop to questions, and we'll do some live questions. So keep track of your statements for loan forgiveness. You will need them. Maybe consider a separate bank account to keep track of your funds and your spending. That's an idea, throwing it out there. The value that we provide over big banks. Well, listen, the terms and everything are the same no matter where you go. We don't charge any fees, and no one can. The difference is we are set up, and in normal times, we do thousands of applications per month and do a lot of business financing fundings per month. So in normal times, we handle and do a heavy volume, and the lenders on our platform do big volume. So our lenders are set up for this. A lot of the banks are not. On top of that, when you call and speak, you can speak to a knowledgeable person that gets it and gets your business and understands the guidelines. A lot of times when you're calling banks right now, you're just getting customer service people from all around the globe and US that really have, unfortunately, don't really have a clue. Please be aware of scams and use common sense. There's a lot of people out there saying they can do things. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it. Please be patient. Once you get your application in, it's literally a waiting game. Anyone that you're seeing getting funded today, the banks have started to fund. We don't have any allocation rules, meaning we're not capping out at any certain amount, and neither are lending partners. Our lending partners will look to fund as much of this as they can until the money runs out from the SBA. But please be patient. Anyone that's getting funded today applied last week, okay? So when you apply with us today, you'll most likely expect to get the funding in about 5 to 10 days. And that can start to change and get faster as we get into next week, as the SBA is finally starting to pick it up. So please bear with us, and those are realistic expectations. Please don't call and email us multiple times. That slows the whole team down. We're all working remote, and it's also going to slow down the process for other business owners. So please hang tight. You also receive an email with a link to apply and a recording from this webinar as well too. All right, so we're going to go to some live Q&A questions.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Just wanted to mention there's been some confusion. A few clients are looking to apply, and they're saying they're not seeing the application. So I just want to make sure that everyone is visiting national.biz/PPP. And if they're having any issues there, everybody can email info@national.biz, and we're also monitoring that mailbox as well.
Pat, can you drop in the link to apply to our website in the chat? We're going to drop that link in there for you guys right now.
Doing it now.
Just so it's super clear. And it's right up on the screen where you need to go and apply. When you go there, there's a form in the right side of the screen. Just start filling that form out and hit start process or apply. So when you go to this link, you'll see a web form. Fill that form out and click apply. If you're self-employed, you can apply. We'll just need everything that you'll just need any documentation that supports whatever your salary was last year. You'll take that salary, you'll divide it by 12. Whatever that number is, you multiply it by 2.5, and that's your loan amount. So if your salary was $100,000 last year, you need supporting docs. You divide $100,000 by 12 months, which equals $8,333, and you multiply that by 2.5, which is just over $20,000, and that's your loan amount. If you already applied with the lender, you can apply with us, and we'll get you in the process. Whoever gets you to the closing table first will win. Hopefully it'll be us, but if it's not, it's all good. What's more important is that you get the funding, and wherever you get it through, whether it's us or another lender is fine. I don't recommend going around applying everywhere and everywhere. It'll only kind of jam up the process. But if you started somewhere else, a lot of people are not confident with their banks. A lot of the big banks are supporting, if you don't have a big credit line in a lot of these big banks, a lot of the banks are working on their customers that have credit lines out first. You don't need to be a customer of National prior to this, so we can work and support you. So if you applied last Friday, that's great. You're in queue. Even though you haven't heard anything, that's okay. We're going to start sending out daily communications. You should see funding any day now. We're literally like right there if you applied a week ago. All right, let me just get to some more questions here. So there's a question from Brian, Angelico. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So I am a contracting business with one full-time W-2 and 5 1099s along with myself. So if you can use that, you cannot use the 1099s, unfortunately. You can use yourself, and you can use that W-2 employee into your calculation. So whatever you paid yourself last year, whatever that employee's salary was for last year, you add that up, divide it by 12, that's your monthly average, and you multiply it by 2.5, and that's what you would do. If you're an S-Corp, you can apply. If you're an S-Corp, there's a question from Marion, are you an S-Corp? Do you have any owners? Or is it just I'm sorry, do you have any employees, or is it just yourself? If you need to edit your application, just contact the rep that you spoke with. We'll send you out a new application. So, Marion, if you don't have any employees and you're an S-Corp, then you can use your salary that you paid yourself last year or your distributions. We would need that supporting documentation. So a K-1 from last year, or any distributions. If you distributed money to yourself personally, then we need those bank statements for 12 months to prove out those distributions. And the max you can use is $100K. So however, I'm not paying a W-2. I'm the sole owner, so my income is the business net. Brian, did I just answer that question for you? I hope that was helpful. Yeah, it would be whatever you paid yourself, whatever your income is. We need the supporting doc for that. Divide by 12, multiply by 2.5. That's correct. So basically, how do you get all this information to us? You're going to go to national.biz/PPP. You can apply right there. There's a form. Fill out that form. Start the process. Click apply, and then you'll be brought right into the process. You'll sign, complete the application, and then at the end, it'll give you a spot where you can upload your documentation. So, Marion, if you don't pay yourself a salary, how do you pay yourself? Did you pay yourself anything last year? Whatever you paid yourself last year, we need the proof of how you paid yourself, and then you're going to divide that number by 12, multiply by 2.5. Prima, yes. So yes, you'll just need your bank statement. So Prima has a question. If you've just distributed money to yourself, you can use it up to 100K. We're going to need those bank statements to show proof of how you distributed to yourself, and then we can use those figures. If you applied with us over a week ago, nothing really started happening until this week. So that question's come up a few times. So if you applied last Friday, that's great. Everything's in queue. A lot of the fundings that you're starting to see happen from people who've applied from over a week ago, actually at this point. So if you applied last week, you're going to start to see funding probably within the next 5 days or so. So the lenders didn't start to fund until yesterday, and everything is in queue. So you're going to get funded in the order it was received. So the good news is thank God you got your application in last Friday. If you submitted the application without the documents, Jimmy, so if you submitted the application without the documents, someone will be reaching out to you. You should have got an email with whoever's working it, and you can send those documents right to the financing advisor that is working your application. So I've answered this question a few times, but it keeps coming up. If you're a single member LLC, if you're a single owner, whatever, LLC, S Corp, sole prop, independent contractor, you can use the money that you made, that salary that you made, and we need the supporting documentation, however you can prove that salary, whether it's your bank statements for distributions, K-1, Schedule C, whatever that supporting documentation is that proves how you paid yourself, you can use that, and it caps out at 100K that you can use for yourself, just like everybody else. If you need to edit your application, just contact your rep. We'll send you out a new application. It's not a big deal. Harold asked, what are the fees for our assistants? We are not charging any fees. We get compensated from our lenders. No one is allowed to charge you fees. If anyone is looking to charge you fees, they are not doing this in the proper way, and they're breaking the guidelines from the SBA. So great question. If the SBA has assigned you for a loan number, then that means that it's in queue, in process, and it's secured your spot. So that's a great thing. When will you be funded? Probably in the next 5 to 10 days. A lot of the fundings that you're seeing now are from 5 to 10 days ago for people who applied. So just have patience. Everything's in process and queue. We're moving quickly. The lenders are moving quickly, and they had, the SBA had some major challenges with their site and their systems this past week.
Hey, Joe?
Yes.
Seeing some questions about owners owning multiple businesses that are separate entities, and just curious how that works, if they can apply multiple times on the multiple entities.
So you can apply with multiple entities. You can put all of them together. You would have to put in an application for each entity. So you do have to technically put an application in for each entity. And you can apply all those together back to back, but we would need the same documentation for each entity, and you'd have to apply for each entity. Any other questions, Pat, that you saw coming up that I missed here? I'm going to keep going through. There's some people that raised their hand. Let me actually look here.
I was just going to mention that. I'm getting a few that mentioned they raised their hand if you want to take a peek at that, and I'll grab a few more questions for you as well.
Yep. So hold on one second, guys. Where are the...
I've seen one a few times about if you had an SBA loan in the past, and if you were unable to pay that SBA loan back for whatever reason, you had a challenge paying back the SBA loan, would that affect you from getting a PPP loan?
One second. I'm not seeing. Oh, here we go. All right. All right, guys. One sec. All right, a bunch of people have raised their hand. I'm going to get to answer some live questions here. William Coleman, you are live and you can talk. All right, I think William's no longer here. Wendy Church, you're able to talk. If you have a question, I can answer it live now.
Just remind whoever you tag in that they have to unmute themselves. She's on mute currently.
Hi, Wendy, are you there? All right, let me go on to the next person. All right, just 1 second, guys. We're going to go to a live question from Jack. Jack, 1 second. I'm going to bring you on live. Hi, Jack. Are you there? Just unmute yourself. Go ahead. What's your question? It's not allowing me to unmute. Jack's question, Jack, feel free to answer your question. You just have to unmute yourself.
At the bottom of the screen, people are asking how to unmute. At the bottom of the screen, there's a microphone and a video. If you just click on that microphone, it should allow you to speak.
It's weird. It's not allowing me to do the unmute feature as well. So Jack's question is, do you include your utility bills and rent in this PPP? No, you do not include your utility bills or rent in the calculation. The rent and utilities are only for the loan forgiveness portion. So any rent and utilities that you've paid the 8 weeks after you receive funding will count towards loan forgiveness, and only a certain percentage of it. Let's see here. Right now, it's still unclear that certain percentage, Megan. Megan asked, what's a certain percentage? The certain percentage has not been determined, but it looks like it's going to be 25% of your rent, utilities, and mortgage interest, not your mortgage payment. And that would be whatever you've paid the 8 weeks after you got funded. Okay. Are lease payments, there's a question from Antonio, are lease payments limited to real property? What about equipment leases? So the lease payments, it's referring to rent for your location, your business location. There's nothing that's been put out there that said you can use lease payments for equipment. So I don't believe that you can. Definitely keep track of those lease payments, and I'm not sure if anything will change there. That question's come up a few times. It is a really good question, but I don't believe right now it's just saying that it's towards the rent and lease of your physical business location. You have to use, someone asked, what if I didn't file my 2019 yet? Can I use my 2018? No, you cannot. You can only use your 2019 supporting documentation. If you didn't file your taxes, then any other proof of how you paid yourself, if you're solely independent, you're gonna need other proof of how you paid yourself. So you can utilize bank statements or things like that.
Joe, somebody mentioned if they hold down their space bar, maybe they can unmute. So if you want to try the Q&A, they are able to hold down their space bar to unmute. See if that works.
Okay. Can my company charge a fee to assist clients? So someone asked, no, you cannot charge fees. Arnez, can my company charge a fee to assist clients in applying for the SBA PPP loan? No, you're not allowed to. Those guidelines have been set by the SBA. I would not recommend doing that at all. You're playing with fire there. Kevin, I'm going to bring you on. Kevin just asked a question. Let me see if I can bring Kevin on live. I don't see him there. Okay. Kevin asked, what if I increase the payroll as a sole employee of my S-Corp to just use in the PPP amount? I had not earned that amount monthly previously, but paid the extra 0.5 in addition to that normal payroll amount. Kevin, I'm not clear on your question, but if you're an S-Corp, you know, it's basically, if you're an S-Corp, it would be the total amount that you paid yourself over the year. So it doesn't matter necessarily monthly. It's whatever you, so even if your distributions or whatever was not, wasn't like equal each month, it would be the total amount that you paid yourself for 2019 in distributions or however you're paying yourself, you can use that amount. So I hope that answers your questions. So another one, Len, I haven't filed my 2019 taxes. Most people haven't. So what proof do you have that you paid yourself money in 2019? You can utilize your bank statements and distributions. If you pay yourself payroll, you can utilize those statements. I hope that answers your question. If you defaulted in an SBA in the past 7 years, you would not be able to. Frank, there's a question from Frank D. Correct. If you defaulted in the last 7 years in an SBA loan, you will not be able to qualify.
Joe, there was a few questions where I believe one of our slides might mention about not applying with multiple banks. And I think what you mean there, and if you want to clarify, is that once a bank has started processing with you, you don't want to go out and apply again. Some have asked if they can't apply with multiple, but they've already applied with their banks. We're telling them to come apply with us. Why is that okay?
If you're not confident in your bank, if they're not moving fast enough, we can help you. The first person that's going to get into that SBA system will help you. I just don't think if you're going to go around the world and apply at multiple banks that it's really going to help you. I think it's going to be chaotic. We've had people that apply at their banks. It's been challenging. So we put it through our system and we're pushing it through as quickly as we can from them. So I just think going around to multiple banks, it's just going to wind up jamming up, it's just going to wind up jamming up the system. So if you applied at one bank and it's not moving, then come apply with us. We'll get it in. But if your bank comes back to you, your bank comes back to you. That's a tough one. So going to multiple banks, I don't think it's beneficial at all. There was another question here. Let me see. For some reason, the live question answering isn't really working. Anyone else not clear on any of the questions that I've answered or asked? A few people have asked about disaster loan assistance, the EIDL loan. That's really a good question. So we do not help with the disaster loan or the EIDL loan. And then there's a 10K advance that you can apply. So for that, you have to go to the SBA.gov site direct, apply for it, and then it'll ask you, there's a box to check if you want a 10K advance. You can check that box, but you have to do that directly to them. To be honest, there was only a certain amount of money put aside for that. And at this point, so many people applied. So I really don't know if I'm not saying you shouldn't. Go apply for it. And you can apply for both of them. So go apply for it. But I think at this point, I'm not confident how many people are still going to get that at this point, but you definitely can go apply. We do not help you with that. You have to go to the SBA.gov directly and apply for that. So independent contractors, you can start applying today. There was something out there that I think said the 10th, but you can get your application in and start applying right now. It's fine. And even if you did a day or two ago, it's all good. It's completely fine. And your cap is 100K. The cap for everybody is 100K, whether you're solely owned or have multiple employees. With each employee, it caps out at 100K. There's a question from Megan. What if you're a new 1099 employee? What do you mean by that, Megan? Like new meaning what? Like you have to be working prior, in business prior to 2/15, February 15th, 2020. So I'm not sure how new, but if you just started this year, you can use, whatever income you made in from January and February of this past year. So I hope that helps you. Sue asked, how do you get back into the application if you dropped out during the process, need to change something? You'll get an email from one of our reps. Just reach out to our reps, that rep email from one of our business financing advisors, and you can send them the docs directly. So there's a question about mortgage interest, which is a good question. It's coming up a lot with real estate. Mortgage interest question from Mark. Mark, let me see if I can go live with that one because that one's coming up. So hang tight. Did you raise your hand, Mark? I didn't see that. Let's see. Mark, I just allowed you to speak. If you could just unmute yourself. I think you might have to hit your space bar and unmute yourself. So Mark's real estate question is, Mark, are you able to talk? For some reason, it's not working. Sorry. I apologize. It must be a Zoom glitch. So let me get to your question. Let me just pull it back up. 1 second, Mark, because this real estate question's come up a lot. Our business invests in real estate, has over 18 investment properties. We're paying monthly mortgage interest per month, holding $3,000 a month. Can this be included? So no, unfortunately you can't. And that's come up a lot for real estate investors. You can't use any of that. The only thing you can use to calculate that loan amount is the payroll that you're paying to yourself, or if you have any other employees. Now, most people that are real estate investors don't really have employees. So you can basically use what you've paid yourself. Now, and that caps out at 100,000. If each one of those properties are in a separate LLC, this isn't clear, but you may be able to apply for each individual LLC. And whenever you've paid yourself from each one of those LLCs, you can use that amount to calculate. I don't know if that amount's going to be worth it for you or not. It might be a lot of work. So that's a tough one that's come up. You can't use the mortgage interest to try and use it for payroll. It's come up a lot of times.
Joe, the 1099 continues to come up about, contracted companies that have subcontractors that have been on with them for a long time. Just still seems to be some confusion around 1099. Maybe we could just spend a minute on that or so.
Yep. So just going back into the 1099 calculations, there's a $10,000 monthly payroll minimum to apply on the site. The cap is 100,000. There was something when we first got started with this. A lot of lenders were saying $25,000 loan amount would be the least. So just ignore that. If you're using that 100K cap, it would be $8,300 a month that you can use, and we can still work with you. Okay. But to get back to the 1099 question, you cannot. They got rid of using the 1099 for any 1099s that you pay out. You cannot use those anymore. If you pay yourself on a 1099 or you receive a 1099 as an independent contractor, you can use any monies that you receive into the calculation if you're an independent. But you cannot use your 1099s of anything that you pay out. So I hope that's helpful. Is that clear?
Definitely helpful. It's also coming up. It looks like there's some business consultants on here that may have some clients of their own that they're looking to get assistance. I've been writing back one by one, letting them know about our partner division and to email partnersupport@national.biz. Maybe you just want to touch on that quickly.
Yeah, and can you drop our partner website in there as well too, Pat? So we do have a partner program. If you're an accountant, a CPA, a bookkeeper, an SBA consultant, anyone that's around small businesses and need help assisting them, normally in normal times, we work with you, those folks. We have thousands of partners across the country, and we help your customers get financing. And we'll work together. It's a great partnership program, and we do a rev share. If for this, you can get signed up and we can help your customers get the financing that they need. And we're here to support your customers through this. So you can work with us and we can work with you and help those customers. So I hope that helps. And we'd love to work with you and past here, in the future, we can work together as well too. And when our normal programs come back up and running. Excuse me. There's another question from Arnez. If my company provides bookkeeping services, do we have to provide that service for free? I'm assuming you're talking about the service of getting them their statements. I mean, I think that's what you're talking about. I mean, I guess if you had to go through and and put this together, if you're putting going to and putting together like calculations or something, I mean, if you normally charge for that, then I guess you could, but you cannot charge directly for helping in obtaining in this loan. So I'm not sure what you should do there. That's a business decision. If you're a bookkeeper and people are calling you for statements, provide them their statements.
Hey, Joe.
Yep.
Is there any penalty for applying for the loan and not using it?
No, absolutely not. You can apply. You don't have to use it. There's no prepayment penalty, so you can get the loan as a safety net. You can park the money in your bank account. It's only 1% interest, which is amazing. Like, as a business owner, you'll probably never be an opportunity again to get a 1% business loan has no collateral and no personal guarantee. So that's amazing. And I'm sure there's things that you can utilize the funding for as business ramps back up. But there's no prepayment penalty, so you can park the money in your bank account and then just decide to pay it off in 90 days if you feel comfortable or confident. Any other questions, Pat, that I did not miss? I'm just trying to look through. There's a question again about, so Raul, to recap calculations, I'm a C Corp 1099 owner, so I divide, yes, your 1099 income by 12 months and multiply it by 2.5 times. That equals your funding amount. Yes, that's correct.
There's a question here about forgiveness on rent expense within 8 weeks. Is it 100%?
So no, so nothing is 100% besides payroll. And if you've laid people off and have not brought them back, or reduced salaries for anyone under 100K, if you reduce those salaries of more than 25%, then it's still not 100% of payroll that you'll get for loan forgiveness. So with rent, utilities, and mortgage interest that you pay in the 8 weeks after you get funding, it looks like they're going to cap it out at about 25% of each one of those amounts. Now, there's been nothing clear, and it's something to consider. And there's been nothing said, like if you wanted to prepay out rent and utilities, there's nothing around that saying you can't do that. So that could be technically a technicality of a way that maybe you can pick up some additional loan forgiveness. That's just an idea and thought. So I'll say that again. For rent, utilities, and mortgage interest, you can only, right now, you'll only be able to get 25% of that forgiven for anything that you've paid towards that in the 8 weeks after you get funded. So is that clear?
Definitely helpful. I have another one here for you. Being an owner that has taken draws for several years and recently switched to being a W-2 employee beginning January 1 through current, would it be better to use this year's payment records or go back through 1099 draws and use that data?
It would be better to use this year. So I would take that amount for January and February and divide it up and then multiply it by 2.5. So you would take, January, February, divide by 2, multiply by 2.5 would be better to use this year's and make more sense.
This one's come up as well, and thank you for that, Joe. This one's come up as well. For staff who left or were sent home, would a comeback bonus check count for payroll cost?
Well, yeah, any type of payment, to your employees technically counts as payroll. So if you bring people back, if you've laid people off, you have till June 30 to bring them back. So if you get the funding and bring them back immediately, anything that you pay them in the 8 weeks going forward would count. As long though as, so if you're bringing them back and their salaries remain the same, and if you do some bonuses, you should be able to use that. So that's a great question, actually. But if you've reduced their salary more than, I believe it's 25%, then you're not going to be able to get that full loan forgiveness on it. But if you bring people back, keep their salaries the same, and you throw some bonuses in there, you should be able to use that amount. There's nothing in there saying you can. It's a great question and a good idea. So no, so there's another question. Do you have to use all the funds within an 8-week period? So the question to that is no, you don't have to use all the funds. It's just anything that you use the funds towards: payroll, utilities, rent. It can qualify potentially for loan forgiveness, but you don't have to use all the funds within 8 weeks, and you can they're saying that you should use the funds for payroll and for rent and utilities, but there's nothing saying you can't use it for other things. They're suggesting that you use it for those things. So I hope that clears it up, because that comes up a lot. So there's a few other questions.
I have another one if you want one, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
This is from Mark, and Mark says, if I work from home, will the forgiveness work towards personal rent and utilities, or just partially, or not at all? I run an S corp.
So that's a tough technicality question, because I know, and it depends on your state, and that's something you need to speak with your accountant on. And when you work from home, I believe when you work from home, and this is a good accountant question, when you work from home, I'm pretty sure that you can only use a portion of your rent towards as an expense in your business. So like if you're doing $1,000 a month and if your rent's $1,000 a month and you work from home, you can only use like $250 or something like that towards in your expense when you're doing your taxes. So I would believe that whatever portion that you're allowed to use from working from home in your state towards rent, you should be able to use that in your calculation for loan forgiveness. That's a really good question, Mark. There's nothing saying that you can't, and I would assume that you could use whatever portion you normally would use in that calculation. So whatever you're writing off in rent expense normally, I would believe you'd be able to do that going forward for the 8 weeks. There's nothing saying that, or there's not anything in the guidelines saying that it can't be for home-based businesses. So great question. So like I know when you work from home, you can't use all of your utilities or all of your rent. So whatever you would normally use in that expense for your business, you should be able to use in this. So it's not 100% clear. That's my guess. I think it's a good one.
Great answer, Joe. Mirna was looking for just clarification. She asked, what did you mean by taxes paid? Is it the payroll 940 tax filings?
So you can use your gross payroll figures, and you can also add on top of the gross payroll figures the state unemployment taxes that you pay, because that's separate. So any taxes that come out from payroll, you're just using your gross money payroll that you've paid in salaries to an employee. But you can also add in there your unemployment state taxes, because that figure is separate that you do pay. And any benefits that you pay towards each employee, you can add that on top of that monthly figure. I hope that clarifies. Dr. Al, you cannot use a PPP loan for a startup, and you cannot use your projections. You can only use a PPP if you were in business prior to February 15th, 2020. And you can only use the money that you've spent in payroll to employees or to yourself, whether it's distributions or payroll, capped at $100K per person in that equation.
I had one here from Todd, and he says, does the benefit package that we pay to the union for our employees on an hourly rate, does that include to the employee hourly rate, or is that a different forgiven?
So the benefits that you pay and contribute towards any benefits, you should be able to use in your calculation. So it's the salary, the total gross salary that each employee is making, and then any contributions that you make towards benefits, you can use in that equation. So that's a great question, but it's what you're paying of those benefits.
If your business has a current tax lien, can you still apply and be approved for a PPP loan?
They only mention that if you've defaulted on an SBA, or if you have had a felony in the last 7 years, that you'll be automatically declined. They have not specifically said tax liens. I know in normal times, if you have a tax lien outstanding, you will not get an SBA loan. They've not been specific with that in this case, so I think the best thing that you can do is apply. We can actually also help you get that tax lien into a payment plan and work with you on that. That's actually one of the services that we offer. So we can do a twofold. We can work on your PPP loan and help you square up that tax lien. Great question.
I had one more here for you.
Workman's comp cannot be added back in.
I had one more from Jennifer. Can you use the disability insurance premium if you cover for your employees?
I'm sorry, one more time, Pat.
Oop, I lost that. Oh, here we go. From Jennifer, she asked, can you use the disability insurance premium if you cover your employees?
They've said that, yeah, disability is interesting. They've said any benefits that you cover for employees, so you should be able to use that. If you're paying that portion, yes, you should be able to use that. So Vernon, is the 500 employees total employees or full-time employees? They haven't said if it's just full-time employees. Are those non-full-time employees? Are they on the payroll or are they 1099? You can just answer me that in the chat just because our talk feature is not working for some reason. Yeah, so if they're all on payroll, it is total employees. So they don't mention full-time. What industry are you in, Vernon? Construction. Do you have multiple locations? Okay. If you've got multiple locations, there were some technicalities that I think are still there with that. And also, depending on your total gross sales, will make up if you do that. If you don't want to put that here, that's fine. Reach out to someone, one of the members of my team. We can get that question answered for you. Depending on the industry type, what type of construction, and where you're located. If you're under 15 to 17 million a year in sales, are there 10 million? So yeah, based on the 10 million fact, if you're over 500 employees, we should actually be able to work on that. So that's actually a really good question. We should be able to do that. So it looks like anything under 15 million, but over 500 employees, we can work with you there. So great question. It looks like we can do that.
Hey, Joe, Todd had another good question. He had originally asked about the benefits and the premium that he's paying. He asked if his employee is already making $100,000 and then he contributes. Does that not count because it's already at the 100 max, or can you include that on top?
You can include the benefits on top that you contribute. So yes, you can. So let's just say the employee earns your 100K salary and you contribute an additional 5,000 towards benefits. You can use 105 in your calculation. There's a question from Ballwinder. You own a hotel in Johnson City, Texas. The hotels and hospitality fall out of the 500 employee calculation. So what was the question that you're asking, that you own a hotel in Johnson City? So if you own a hotel or restaurants, you can have more than 500 employees and still apply for this. There's a question from Daniel. Can self-employed employees terminate payroll to apply for unemployment and then apply for the PPP simultaneously? So are you saying, Daniel, can you terminate yourself and apply for unemployment? Or are you saying, can you terminate other employees that you have and still apply? There's a question from Scott. Pat, I've asked Joe in the Q&A about having two employees, owners at 28%, how this affects the application versus the 20% rule. I've asked having two. Scott, what is your question exactly? And sorry, there's a ton of questions. And I apologize if we haven't gotten to your questions. We're trying to get to, we have 300 questions, so we're trying to get through as many as we can. Let's see. So Ballwinder, if you've applied at your bank and you haven't heard back, I'm not sure. But if you want to apply through us, we can get that application right in for you. So just to go back to Scott's question, there's a 20% rule, meaning that anyone over 20% needs to be listed on the application. So any of your other owners that are on there, you just have to list it in the application, but you can use each one of those owner salaries in your calculation for the loan amount. Does that answer your question, Scott? It's a good question. Scott, I'm going to have to, can you message me your email privately and let's talk about that? I want to look into and understand exactly what you're saying, but you can use your own salary. Baldwin, we just sent you the link to go apply directly on our website. Start that process there. Patrick just sent it to you. No, we do not charge any fees. And Scott, please send out your email and we will reach out to you. I just want to confirm what you're saying and we'll dig into that one for you. I don't want to answer it incorrectly and give you the wrong information. Anyone else have any final questions here that we missed, in the Q&A? So Daniel, to get back to you, it's not clear. Someone else asked me that, and I put a question out to my employment attorney. If you could terminate yourself and collect unemployment, I don't know the answer to that. He hasn't gotten back to me. So I'm not sure. If you want to shoot me your email, I'll jot it down, and if I get that answer, I'll reply back to you. It is a really unique question. I'm surprised. He's a really good attorney, and I stumped him with that one because no one's ever asked him that before. So Kevin Clark, I was told by our accounting firm that we can include the FICA costs. So you can include the state FICA costs, the state unemployment taxes. So I've heard that you can, I've been told that we can include it, and that's what we've been told. So Scott, it looks like maybe you've already applied. If you've had an issue, please send us your email and we'll email you right now. Raul, what's an ITIN business? I'm not sure what that is. So FICA is the federal. So Dale, no, you can't use, if FICA, you can't use the federal. It's only the state unemployment insurance that you can use. Great question. Thank you. Thank you guys for clarifying. Scott will get on that. You will get a confirmation email. Just expect that. You'll get it. Don't worry. If you've made contact with someone from our team, that means we're on it, which is good. Thank you, Jert. I appreciate it. There's a question from Princess Miller. I own a daycare and the amount of unemployment is more than what most employees earn. Should I terminate them and allow them to draw unemployment and bring them back? I mean, listen, that's a business decision, Princess, that you have to make. In these times, things are crazy, so, that in this time, it might make sense to do that. That's a business decision. So if you're not able to work and bring revenue in and you're forced to, lay people off, I mean, you got to protect your capital right now and preserve your capital. So, in this crazy time, if you're not working, period, and you're still paying people and they can earn more on unemployment, you're forced into that situation. So, it probably would make sense to lay them off. Yes. So it's a business decision, but if you're not working, you can't work, you can't do anything. It would make sense to temporarily lay people off, apply for this loan, and then bring them back when we get back to business. 100%, protect your capital. Raul, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident to have a working visa to apply for this. Anthony, you have a client that's an S-Corp, does not take a salary. How do you calculate the monthly amount for PPP application? Is it the draw or what he said he's taxed on his return? So basically, it's the draw amount or whatever amount that he paid himself, the total amount. It caps out at 100K. So if the draw or the total amount of money that he made from the corporation, if that's over 100K, it's going to cap it at 100, so you can use that calculation. And so if you have your ITIN number, you do have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent working visa to apply for an SBA. So that's a tricky one there, Raul. If you don't have a social, I don't think that you can apply because you do have to be a U.S. citizen to be able to get any type of SBA loan.
Joe, a lot of questions in here from our clients that have applied with us. Asking about kind of like status and things of that nature. Maybe you could just repeat again, just kind of that banks are, kind of just starting to move now and just kind of touch on that.
So basically, if you applied last Friday or a little bit earlier than that, things are just starting to move today. So you're going to start to see some major movement next week. If you've spoken to one of our team members, that means we are on it and everything's working through. So just hang tight and please be patient. You're going to see some email communication start to go out today as well, just to get everyone updated. We talked about that in our morning huddle today with the whole team. So thank you. The $10 million max, the $10 million limit, I'm sorry, to apply from Sanjay. So that if you're doing, we can help you if you're doing the $100,000 a year. So basically the $8,300 basically limit. So we've kind of removed that limit. That was something that we were told that there was going to be a limit at the beginning. It's changed, so it's on the website. So if you're doing less than that, you can apply. You can apply as long as your loan amount equals anything $10,000 or more. You can apply with us. So if you use the PPP money for payroll, is that okay to be forgiven? Yes, for your payroll, it's anything that you use the 8 weeks after you get funding. If you've laid folks off and have not brought them back, then there's a formula where you won't get 100% of that payroll forgiven. Yes, James, great question. Can you use your trailing 12 months of payroll? You can use your trailing 12 months of payroll from anything from February 2020 going back those last 12 months. So you can use it. I addressed it earlier in the webinar, but you can use that. Jennifer, thank you, and I'm glad that you found this helpful. I appreciate that, so thank you very much. We're here to help and serve small business owners. We're doing the best in everything we can. We're doing this on the fly, and the whole team and all of us are doing this remotely. So thank you. I appreciate the thanks, and also please bear with us. We're all working as hard as we can and around the clock here to get as many of these applications funded. We want to get this money in the hand of all small business owners. That's what we're here to do and serve, so thank you.
Joe, Michael was asking if National is offering the Express Bridge Loan, the EBL pilot program. I know this program has been around for a while and is a lesser-known SBA program, but guidelines were revised on March 25th pertaining to COVID-19. If not, is there anywhere else I can go, or how else can National help?
So the SBA Express and SBA 7A loan have basically all been put on pause right now, and the main focus is this PPP loan. So the only other SBA loan that I know of that you can apply for is that disaster EIDL loan. Right now the SBA Express and 7A are on hold. We do offer those once they come back. I don't know when that will be. We can help you with that. So for right now, it's the PPP loan. If you are still doing revenue right now, we have all other small business loan products that are available and small business financing products that are available separate from the PPP loan if you're still doing revenue. So if you're still doing revenue, you'll need to be doing at least about $30,000 to $40,000 a month in revenue actively now. Then we would be able to help you with another product. Normally, you need to be doing at least $10,000 a month in gross sales. Right now, that's been moved up to about $30,000 to $40,000 in gross sales. And if you're doing that now, we can help you with other lending products. So great calculation. If your calculations is at 15,000, no, you cannot request 25. So I'm not sure, Baba, what the question is there. If your calculation is after you've multiplied it by 2.5, if it's equal to 15,000, it's 15,000. So James, that's a great question. And if you're paying employees vehicles and gas, I guess it depends on how you're paying that, because it says employee benefits in the rules. I just want to check something. It says in there benefits. Yeah, do you structure that as a bonus when you pay them for that? Like when you give them the money back for reimbursement for vehicles and gas, how do you code that when you pay them? Because if it's coded as a bonus, I want to tell you definitely can. But I'm not sure on the vehicles and gas. That's a really good question. If you reach out to me and my team, and you've applied, I'll look into that for you. And if you want to drop your email, we'll look into it. You know, we brought in a company vehicle with the company card. Then I don't think that you can do it. You would have to be paying them and reimbursing them that, James, through payroll. So if you're not paying it and reimbursing it through payroll, then I don't believe that you can utilize that. If you are reimbursing them via payroll, then I'm pretty sure you can use that in your calculation. Any other questions as we wrap up here?
Just want to mention to everybody, Joe, a few clients have applied but didn't upload like tax documents 940, 941 during the application process, and they're asking where they can upload that. You can just forward that right to info@national.biz, and we'll take those documents, get them over to their consultant, and get them all set up.
Okay, cool. Pat, can you just drop that email address in the chat? And Mark, if you just want to shoot us an email, and we'll get right on that for you. I saw that question. Thank you, Pat. Only use that email if you need assistance because you've applied already. If you've already applied, please do not email. If you've applied and update your docs, it's in queue, it's in process. Please don't reach out with that email because it's going to slow us down. So time is really valuable right now. So please, I'm asking you kindly. Thank you. If you've applied already, did not upload your docs, shoot us an email there, and we'll get someone to reach out to you so you can upload those docs. Have you guys all found? I hope you found this webinar helpful. Was this helpful? Did it help address a lot of your questions? If you still have any questions, please drop them in the chat, and we'll get to them right now. We're trying to get to as many as possible. I think we answered a lot of the questions. Thank you, Sharona. Thank you, Balwinder. I appreciate it. Manuel, thank you. James, thank you. It's good to hear. We're trying to do our best we can and give you guys all the information you can. I know it's crazy. Please stay focused and positive in your business. Focus on the opportunity. Even though right now it doesn't feel like there's opportunity, there is. Stay focused on that. I wish you guys a lot of success and strength and positivity in getting back to business and getting up and running. Again, stay focused, stay healthy. And we'll be right back up running, hopefully soon here as a country, and I really look forward to that. Mike, if you have a pending legal matter, as long as it's not a felony, you should be able to apply. Thank you, Princess. I appreciate it. Great name, by the way. Frank, there's other alternative loan products like small business loan and advances that are available, credit lines that are still available if you're still doing revenue. We may be able to help you there. Reach out to us and get connected with someone on the team. We'll see if we can help you. Kevin, thank you very much. You're very welcome. Thank you. James, you're very welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad to see the team's helping you out. Again, we're all working remotely and around the clock here. The team's doing a magnificent job. We have one hell of a team, so thank you. It's great to hear. Abraham, thank you very much.
Yes.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. We're here to serve small businesses, and we're here to innovate the way entrepreneurs grow, so thank you.
Joe, if you don't mind, I just want to say hello to Abraham as well. Abraham, it's Patrick. Thank you for your commitment and loyalty to National for all these years. We love you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's the Abraham you've mentioned to me before. What's up, Abraham? I feel like I know you. That's awesome. Yes, if you had a bankruptcy within the last 5 to 7 years, I believe, I don't believe that you can apply for one of these right now. From Roman, we have a LLC SBA loan underwritten. The LLC was not renewed, so we're paying on it monthly terms. So basically, technically, if the loan didn't renew, but you weren't able to renew it, like you couldn't renew it, and you weren't able to pay it off, then you're technically in a default. I'm not sure. That's a real technical one. So you may be able to still apply. I don't know on that one. That's a tough one. That does count as a technical default. So that's a tough one there, Roman. If you want to reach out to us, we'll look into that. Noble, I'm not sure of your question. Do we have to use the same employees that we used during the application process to be eligible for the loan forgiveness? No, you don't. I do understand the question now. You don't have to. Well, if you've laid off some employees and have not brought them back, then there's going to be some formula of what you can use in that loan forgiveness. So you might not be able to use 100% of it. If you replace them with other employees, that's a great question, and the loan forgiveness portion is still being figured out. So keep track of all your stuff, your statements and everything. And when after the 8 weeks and you go reapply back for loan forgiveness, we'll figure it out. Garrison, on the 1099 though, I heard you say if you're a sole owner of an S Corp that you can include the wages paid from a 1099 to determine the payroll costs, correct? Yeah, so however you pay yourself from your S Corp, whether it's, usually it's a W-2 or distribution or whatever, or if you get paid a 1099, you can use that amount and it caps at 100K on a single person entity 1099 sole owner. At 11:32, Raheem, do I send the 940 into info or just email stating that I need? So if you applied already, then if you did not apply, then go to apply at national.biz/PPP, and you can apply right there. There's a form, fill out the form, click it. It'll bring you to a bunch of questions, answer those questions, sign the DocuSign, and then at the end you can upload the documents. If you did that already and you've got your 940s now, you can email those in to info@national.biz if you did not upload them when you at the point of applying. Raul, it's not based on credit. This is not based on your FICO score. It's irrelevant in this situation. There's no FICO requirements. Thank you, Patrick. I saw that. So, Dawn, I've been told that on an LLC, that even if you're not W-2ing yourself for a single owner entity or LLC, single member LLC, you can use your monthly salary or drawer, and you're going to have to prove that. So we've been told by our lenders that you can use it and do it that way. I hope that's helpful. Shaw, 1 second. I'm going to look up the bankruptcy guidelines. Actually, Shaw, can you send us your email? We'll email you or email info@national.biz, and someone will get back to you on that and confirm. I forget what the number of years were. I think it's in the last 5 years. I need to confirm that. That's the only thing I don't remember. Thank you, Dawn. You're very welcome. Thank you. Raul, thank you. Sia, thank you. Demetrius, thank you. Demetrius, just email us at info@national.biz and we'll get that information right back to you. All right, everybody, I hope you found this helpful. We're going to wrap up this webinar here. It looks like we got to most of the questions. We'll send out a recording to this link. If you still need clarity, just reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to help with this PPP loan. We're also here to help with other financing products and programs that are still available. And as those lenders come back to lending in the next 30, 60, and 90 days, we'll be here to support you guys as well. Also remember, too, that we help businesses reduce and save money in their expenses. So as you apply for this, we'll focus on that first because that's what's most important. But your expenses and reducing them are very important right now. And a lot of people are overpaying a lot of their normal business services like payroll, credit card processing, bookkeeping, and other services. So we'll look those over and look to reduce expenses in a number of areas, plus utilities. The team will look it over. We'll provide you a free report. But make sure you do that. We've been able to save people thousands of dollars a month. So that's really great. Thank you guys very much for joining. Again, happy Passover, happy Easter, happy Good Friday. I wish you nothing but success in getting back to business. Stay positive and stay healthy during these challenging times. Again, National's been here since 2007, and we've helped secure over $1 billion in financing for small business owners just like you all across the country. We will be here to support you through this and after this. So thank you for watching this webinar today. I appreciate your time, and best of luck. We'll talk soon, and thank you. Take care now. And make sure you subscribe to my social media and channels at Grow by Joe, and you'll get all that up-to-date information there as it comes out. So subscribe and pay attention, and I'll give you all the information as it comes out. I'm putting out videos daily, And we'll also be putting emails out because you signed up for this webinar. So thank you guys, and take care.